After 60, here's why some people start ignoring everyone and become happier because of it. People rarely talk about this out loud, but almost everyone feels it at some point after 60. It arrives quietly, without drama. One day you wake up and realize that you don't feel the same urge to explain yourself anymore. You don't feel the same pressure to keep everyone happy. You don't feel the same need to answer every call, reply to every message, or sit through every conversation that drains you. Instead, there is a growing desire for quiet, a desire for simplicity, a desire for space. And oddly enough, that desire doesn't feel lonely. It feels peaceful. When you are younger, your life is built around other people. You go where they go. You listen to what they think. You worry about how you are seen. You adjust yourself to fit into rooms, families, workplaces, and social circles. This is how you survive and grow when you are young. You need connection to learn. You need approval to find your place. You need others to open doors for you. But after 60, something changes deep inside. The need to be seen fades. The need to be heard softens. What begins to matter more than anything else is how you feel when you are alone. Many older adults notice that their tolerance for noise, chaos, and emotional drama drops sharply. Things that once seemed manageable now feel exhausting. Long conversations that go nowhere. People who complain without end. Arguments that repeat themselves. Obligations that bring no joy. Your nervous system simply does not want to process all of that anymore. It wants calm. It wants safety. It wants a sense of control over your time and your energy. And so, almost without realizing it, you begin to pull back. This is where many people misunderstand what is happening. From the outside, it might look like you are becoming distant or cold. It might look like you are losing interest in others. But from the inside, it feels very different. It feels like you are finally listening to yourself. It feels like you are protecting something precious. Because at this stage of life, energy is not unlimited anymore. You don't have the emotional or physical strength to waste it on situations that leave you feeling worse than when you arrived. Ignoring people, in this context, is not about being rude or heartless. It is about choosing where your limited energy goes. When you stop answering every call or responding to every message, you are not rejecting others. You are honoring yourself. You are saying, even if only in your own mind, that your peace matters, that your quiet matters, that your well-being matters. There is also something very honest that happens after 60. You start to see people more clearly. You notice who respects you and who simply uses your time. You notice who listens and who only talks. You notice who brings warmth into your life and who brings tension. When you were younger, you may have ignored these things because you needed connection so badly. But now, you can no longer pretend not to see them. That clarity changes everything. Suddenly, it feels natural to step away from people who always leave you feeling tired. Suddenly, it feels reasonable to avoid conversations that always turn into arguments. Suddenly, it feels right to spend more time alone, or with just a few trusted people, instead of trying to keep up with everyone. And something unexpected happens when you do this. You start to feel lighter. Your thoughts become calmer. Your body relaxes. Your sleep improves. You are no longer carrying the emotional weight of other people's problems, expectations, or moods. You are finally living at your own pace. Many older adults feel guilty about this at first. They have been taught their whole lives to be available, to be helpful, to be polite no matter what. They worry that pulling back means they are becoming selfish or uncaring. But in reality, what they are doing is learning something very important. They are learning that boundaries are not cruelty. They are a form of self-respect. You can care about people without letting them drain you. You can love your family without giving them unlimited access to your time and emotions. You can be kind without being constantly available. These truths are easier to understand when you have lived long enough to see how much energy you have wasted in the past trying to keep everyone else comfortable. This shift often happens quietly. One day you realize you don't feel like explaining yourself to someone who never really listens. Another day you decide not to go to a gathering that you know will leave you feeling tense. Another day you choose to stay home instead of forcing yourself into a conversation that feels empty. These small decisions add up. They create a new way of living that is calmer, simpler, and more aligned with who you really are. What you are really doing when you ignore certain people is choosing peace over performance. You are no longer acting a role. You are no longer smiling out of obligation. You are no longer pretending to be interested when you are not. You are being honest with yourself, and that honesty is deeply freeing. There is also a biological side to this. As we age, our brains become more sensitive to stress. Loud voices, conflict, and emotional tension take a greater toll on the body than they used to. That is why older people often crave quiet mornings, slow routines, and predictable days. The nervous system is simply asking for gentleness. When you step away from people who create constant emotional noise, you are giving your body what it needs to stay healthy. This is why so many people after 60 begin to prefer their own company. They enjoy reading, walking, sitting in silence, or doing simple hobbies. These moments are not empty. They are full of rest. They are full of reflection. They are full of a kind of peace that is hard to find in a crowded, demanding world. Ignoring people is not about building walls. It is about creating space. Space to breathe. Space to think. Space to feel without being interrupted. And in that space, something beautiful often grows. You begin to hear your own thoughts more clearly. You begin to understand what you truly enjoy. You begin to reconnect with parts of yourself that were buried under years of responsibility and social expectation. This is why so many people who pull back after 60 report feeling happier. They are not lonely in the way others imagine. They are relieved. They are no longer pulled in 100 directions. They are no longer managing everyone else's emotions. They are finally living in a way that feels sustainable. You may notice that you laugh more easily when you are alone or with the right people. You may notice that your mind feels less cluttered. You may notice that small things, like a cup of coffee in the morning or a quiet evening at home, bring you more joy than a busy social calendar ever did. This is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign that you are coming home to yourself. As this happens, you also begin to quietly sort the people in your life. Not in a harsh or angry way, but in a natural, almost instinctive way. You start to see which relationships give you energy and which ones take it away. You don't announce your decisions. You simply begin to show up less where you don't feel at ease. Some people you step away from are not bad people. They are just not good for you anymore. Maybe they always complain. Maybe they bring drama. Maybe they expect too much. Maybe they never really listen. When you are older, you finally give yourself permission to stop carrying that weight. There is a deep wisdom in this, even if it doesn't look that way to others. Life has taught you what matters. And what matters now is not how many people know your name. It is how peaceful your days feel. It is how light your heart feels when you wake up in the morning. It is how much space you have to simply be. This is the beginning of a quieter, richer chapter of life. One where you no longer feel the need to justify your choices. One where you don't apologize for wanting calm. One where you understand that happiness is not found in being surrounded by people, but in being surrounded by peace. As people settle into this quieter chapter, something else becomes very clear. Not all relationships are equal. Some lift you up, while others slowly wear you down. When you are younger, you often stay in draining relationships because you feel you have to. You may fear being alone, or you may believe that being a good person means always being available. But after 60, you begin to see that constantly giving without receiving leaves you empty. And an empty heart cannot enjoy life. This is when many older adults begin to gently walk away from certain types of people. The first are those who drain your emotional energy. These are the ones who always have a problem, always have a complaint, always need something from you. Every conversation feels heavy. You leave feeling tired instead of uplifted. Over time, you realize that you cannot keep pouring from a cup that is already low. So you start to create distance, not out of anger, but out of self-preservation. Then there are the ones who try to control you. Even at 60 or 70, there will always be people who think they know how you should live. They tell you what you should do with your money, your time, your health, your relationships. They speak as if you are still a child who needs guidance. At this stage of life, that kind of interference feels unbearable. You have earned the right to live on your own terms. So you stop engaging. You don't argue. You simply step back. There are also those who thrive on attention and drama. Every interaction becomes a performance. There is always gossip, conflict, or emotional chaos. When you are young, this can feel exciting. When you are older, it feels exhausting. You no longer have the patience for unnecessary turmoil. You want peace, not spectacle. So you quietly remove yourself from those environments. What is interesting is that you don't need to confront anyone to do this. You don't need big speeches or dramatic exits. You simply stop showing up as much. You reply less. You stay home more. You choose silence over noise. And slowly your life becomes calmer. There is a deep philosophical truth behind this. For thousands of years, wise thinkers have said that a peaceful life is not built by adding more, but by removing what disturbs the soul. Stoic philosophers believed that inner calm comes from not letting other people's behavior control your emotions. Carl Jung wrote about the importance of turning inward in later life, letting go of the need for external approval and discovering who you really are beneath all the roles you have played. As you grow older, this wisdom stops being just an idea and starts becoming your reality. You feel in your bones that you no longer need to explain yourself. You no longer need to convince anyone of your worth. You no longer need to participate in conversations that do not nourish you. You are finally free to choose what feels right. Of course, this change can feel scary at first. Letting go of people, even the ones who drain you, can bring guilt. You might worry about what others will think. You might fear being misunderstood. But over time, something beautiful happens. The guilt fades, and the peace remains. You realize that you are not becoming cold. You are becoming clear. You are no longer confused about what you want and what you will no longer tolerate. This clarity brings powerful benefits. Your mind becomes quieter. You stop replaying conversations in your head. You stop worrying about how you came across. Your body relaxes because it is no longer bracing for conflict. Many people find that they sleep better, feel less anxious, and enjoy life more simply because they have reduced the emotional noise around them. You also start to notice how much richer your days feel. Simple moments become meaningful. Sitting by a window, taking a slow walk, drinking coffee in the morning without rushing. These small experiences are no longer interrupted by obligations that do not serve you. You finally have the space to enjoy them fully. What many people do not realize is that this is not withdrawal from life. It is a deeper engagement with it. When you stop giving your energy to things that drain you, you have more energy for what truly matters. You can be more present, more attentive, more grateful. Your world may become smaller, but it becomes warmer and more peaceful. In the end, this quiet shift after 60 is not about ignoring the world. It is about choosing yourself. It is about understanding that you have already given so much. You have worked, raised families, cared for others, and carried responsibilities for decades. Now, you deserve a life that feels gentle. A calm heart is worth more than a crowded schedule. A peaceful mind is worth more than endless conversations. And sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to step back, let the noise fade, and finally enjoy the quiet you have earned.